Hello, this is David Merck speaking to you on behalf of Home Health Gold. We have been hard at work these past few months to bring you tools which would make it easier than ever for you to organize the data in Home Health Gold, to highlight areas where you can improve performance and reduce the threat to survival posed by three new CMS initiatives: value-based purchasing, 5-star, and Pepper. I would like to show you these tools and other changes we have prepared for version 6.2.0 of Home Health Gold and version 9.2.0 of Home Health Gold Professional. I assume you are familiar with the new rating systems that have blossomed during the past year. We won't discuss them in detail here. Suffice it to say that they are designed to use your data to rank your agency in relation to other Medicare home health providers and to guide Medicare and others who purchase home health services to select as providers the agencies which appear to offer the best quality. Agencies which do not score well will have more difficulty gaining participation in ACOs and other networks, will receive lower pay as Medicare's value-based payment model is implemented, and will be at higher risk for post-payment reviews by the MACs and others as a result of their Pepper scores. These rating systems all have several things in common. CMS is now using data from your organization to compare you to other Medicare home health providers, and you are being graded on the curve. Agencies which fare well initially will constantly hear the footsteps of other agencies which are working hard to move past them in the rankings. They will need to improve their scores to stay even. Clearly, the key to survival is to improve your agency performance in areas where it is weak. We believe the key to this improvement is the use of data that is readily available in Home Health Gold. Use it to identify areas where there is room for improvement, to develop a plan for improvement, and then to determine whether the plan is working. I'll come back to this in a few minutes. First, let's get an overview of the key changes in Home Health Gold. Look at the graphs in this image of the dashboard. It displays graphs for a new group named 5-star and VBP, which shows all 8 measures which are found on both the 5-star and VBP systems. The 9th graph in this group is the only other OASIS-based measure used for 5-star, timely initiation of care. The second group is named VBP Plus. It shows the 6 measures which, when added to the 8 from the previous group, comprise the OASIS-based measures currently selected for VBP. Note that the calculations for 2 of these, case management, need for assistance, and improvement in ADL and IADL functioning, have not yet been released. Because we had room, we completed this group of graphs with 3 other home health compare measures relating to surgical wounds, pain, and falls, all of which are part of Home Health Compare, but not currently part of 5-star or VBP. It is clear that CMS expects to add other measures to the VBP mix as the initial trial progresses. The second change to Home Health Gold is that we have finally discontinued the classic dashboard. Over the past 3 years, it has become increasingly confusing and burdensome to maintain 2 dashboards. Recognizing that many of you prize the ability to get quickly to a lot of data using the classic dashboard, we've made it possible for you to get that same functionality and at the same time have immediate access to the graphs and other features not available on that dashboard. We have combined several of the labels in the left column of the dashboard into an Episodes and Stats label. If you click on that label, you will find all of the data previously found on the classic dashboard. Hopefully this change will enable you to have your cake and eat it too. Finally, in the new versions of Home Health Gold and Home Health Gold Professional, you will see something new, an area labeled Measure for Success. This is the doorway to a host of displays and reports which should provide you with the tactical tools needed to cope with the increased pressures of today's home health environment. When you click on Measures for Success, a new form appears. The Measures for Success tools are intended to help you apply to your management the same logic that CMS is applying to your agency, to compare the various people or groups which provide the care your agency delivers and also gather the data used by CMS. On this form, you can select one of the categories for review. In this example, the Case Manager Primary Provider role has been selected for review. After you make your selection, you will click Next. On this form, you get to choose the group of measures to use as the basis for comparison. We have selected 5-star as an example. We'll come back and look at the other options on this form in more detail in a minute. You will click Next to continue. When you click the Next button, Home Health Gold will prepare a grid in which the score for each case manager will be shown for each OASIS-based measure used for your 5-star score. The various case managers will, for each measure, appear in order, with the worst result at the top and the best at the bottom. You will be able to see how much difference there is between the top and bottom scores, the number of outcome episodes on which they were based, and the average for their assessments. If you click a person's name, all of their scores will be highlighted across the grid. In the case of Sandra Stover, we see that her scores are generally near the low end. This may be instructive. You will see that somewhere in the middle of each column, the name All Selected Case Managers appears. Next to it is the average for the 31 case managers for that particular measure. If you click on All Selected Case Managers, then all of the averages will be highlighted across the board. If you right-click a name, you will see a scorecard for that individual showing their score for all 9 5-star measures. For each measure, we show the score. In this case, that would be based on the average of the outcome and process measures for patients who have Sandra assigned as their case manager. At the far right, we show the average for all case managers. For each measure, Sandra has been given a rank based on how her results compare to those of other case managers. In 6 cases, she is at or near the bottom in rank, and we have highlighted her rank to show that it is in the bottom 20%. Note, for the outcome and process measures, there is a clear direction of preference. You want to improve mobility. You want to reduce hospitalizations. We have taken this into account in assigning rank and have marked with an asterisk those, like unplanned hospitalizations, where lower is better. If we go back to the grid, there are a couple of other things to note. First, for each measure, there is a question mark at the top of the column. Click that question mark and a form will appear offering information on how that measure is calculated, why it is important, and other considerations or recommended actions. Also, you will notice that the scores are shown in blue. Click one of those numbers and you will go to a report showing patient-level detail for the patients whose measures were used in calculating that score. The report which appears should be familiar. It is the normal detailed report we use for outcomes, except that we now display not only what the score was at the start and end of the outcome episode, but also the individual who did each assessment. This may help you to determine whether particular assessors are prone to under-assess at the onset of care. The report groups together those which have deteriorated, stabilized, improved, or been excluded. The report format for process measures is identical to that used in other Home Health Gold tools. Here, the patients are grouped based on the result, met, not met, and excluded. One more item of note on all the grids. At the bottom of each grid, there is a Send to Excel button. Click it, and the data in the grid will be sent to a spreadsheet. You will notice that the spreadsheet is like the grid in structure. For each measure, there is a column showing the name of a case manager or team or assessor, then the score, and then the number of episodes or assessments used in the calculation of the score. Each group of 3 columns is sorted by score. If you try to resort the spreadsheet, you are likely to disrupt these relationships. As was true with the previous side-by-side displays, if you wish to save a spreadsheet for later use, you have to use the file save commands within the spreadsheet program. It will not be saved automatically by Home Health Gold. Let's go back to the form where you select measures. There is one other option available to you. You can bypass the grids and go directly to scorecards. When you select a measure, you can choose to produce a specific scorecard or group of scorecards. Click Scorecards as the Show As option and click Next. You will have a drop-down list to select from. In this instance, a list of teams is shown. Select one or more teams, use the Control key to select multiple teams, and they will appear after a bit of calculation. Remember that the Measure for Success tools are part of the dashboard. Therefore, they are controlled by the dashboard settings. If you have focused your dashboard on patients from a particular team, only that team will show up in the pick list. This can be very advantageous. If you set your dashboard to show only patients with a particular diagnosis, all of the grids and scorecards will be limited to the assessments and episodes for which that condition applies. There are a number of available comparisons. For teams, case manager, and payers, we show a full range of measures. There's a total of 9 outcomes or process measures used on the 5-star ratings. There are 13 measures which reflect in a variety of ways on the 6 Pepper measures. There are 14 OASIS-based outcome or process measures currently planned for VBP, and there are 61 additional measures relating to operational items such as case mix, utilization of services, data accuracy, and compliance. Included within this are the measures also shown on the Pepper reports. For assessing clinicians, we have 2 lists. OASIS responses relating to 5-star and value-based purchasing, and selected operational measures. Our logic is that assessing clinicians do not have the same level of control over the entire treatment. They can be held responsible for consistently under-assessing and the assessment they did at the onset of care, but not for the degree of change between that assessment and the later discharge done by someone else. So we provide a ranking for all assessors of their average response on M1860 ambulation at the start and end of care, but not for the ambulation outcome. Similarly, in terms of operational measures, we rank assessors' performance with regard to the average case mix shown on their assessments, common response errors, and the like, but not on such things as number of skilled nursing visits provided over the course of care. Whether we're talking about value-based purchasing or 5-star or Pepper or any other threatening CMS initiative, the key to survival is to learn where you are doing well and where you are not, and then put together a plan to fix it. The good news is that CMS is routinely making available to you reports which can help you to focus on the areas where you have the greatest opportunity to improve quickly. The clearest example of this is the Patient Care Rating Scorecard, which focuses on the calculation of an agency's 5-star score. In this example, the scorecard shows how an agency's scores on various measures have been ranked in comparison to national scores. Assigning a rating from 0 to 5 and then averaged. Assigned a rating from 0 to 5 and then averaged. There are several adjustments in this process, and a measure is only included if the number of patients measured is above a minimum level. The key line is the one named your HHA adjusted rating, the rating for your home health agency. It shows, in this instance, that scores on the ambulation, transferring, and bathing measures have collectively made negligible contribution to the agency's 5-star rating. In general, look for the cases where a difference can make a difference. In this example, the managers with the higher scores have scores which are 50% higher than those at the bottom. If the folks at the bottom can reasonably be expected to achieve higher scores, partly by doing assessments more accurately, the overall agency score can quickly improve, and significantly. This logic is applicable not just to the outcome measures. In the Medicare PPS model, If the top case managers routinely have an average case mix, which is double that of the folks at the bottom, their episodes are generating twice the revenue for the agency. There are a zillion things that must be attended to when the patient is coming into care. It is not astonishing that the completion of the OASIS may not get proper attention. But if the lower scores are a result of rushed assessments, which I believe is often the case, then you can afford to stint on time or training. If I were at the J.W. Blues Home Health Agency, I would want to start with those three measures, and I would hope to find patterns within my data like the one I just showed you, differences that can make a difference, because then I would believe I could make a significant change in our scores. I'd want to see how much difference there was between our assessors with regard to the pattern of response on M1860, M1850, and M1830 at the start of care. I'd want to compare teams and case managers on these three outcome measures. I'd want to set my dashboard dates to make sure the dashboard covered a period which allowed for enough cases per performer to give me confidence that the differences were not produced by a random variation in the assignment of patients to staff. Based on this review, we at J.W. Blues Home Health Agency would map out our tactics. Who needs what kind of training? Who needs closer monitoring? Hopefully, the availability of detailed objective measures would help us to communicate effectively to our staff the steps we need for them to take to ensure the agency's viability as a compliant, properly funded deliverer of quality home health services. And then, as we implemented our plan, we would periodically study the dashboard graphs for the measures of interest to gauge our progress. Quickly, there are several other changes in this latest update. We have temporarily discontinued the use of our RSS feed due to instances where new security procedures were causing Home Health Gold to shut down when it would attempt to gather data from the website. We have modified our readmission reporting to identify patients with at-risk diagnoses based on data from the M1021 and M1023 fields rather than the information from 1011, the diagnoses assigned in the hospital, which was less detailed and reliable. Lastly, we have added the ability to sort your chosen group of the works reports. The sorting is done by compiling the group of assessments that you would like to review, then clicking on the name or ID number of the first assessment to organize all of them by that criteria. As usual, we have corrected some other minor errors. We have moved quickly today across a number of significant changes. I encourage you to review the update notes available at the online help page through the help option on the main menu, and then try the new features. You cannot really break anything, so please be adventuresome. Also, please take Rhonda and Mike up on their offers of review sessions, and let us know how it is working. I expect that, like CMS, we will be adding and removing measures as we go forward. One final thought. It may take some time to study all of these measures and to decide which ones are most meaningful to you. They cover a broad array of topics, but that's the real world in home health today. Compliance, leaving money on the table, under-assessing, patient outcomes, etc. All of these pose dangerous risks for you in this hyper-measured world. You cannot, by good intuition alone, guide your agencies. The only way to have a semblance of control is to use your data. In the words of Laura Martin, it's a fool's errand if you do not use data. If anyone you compete against is using data to iterate faster and you don't, you do so at your peril. I hope that the new Home Health Gold tools will give you an increased ability to organize, summarize, and give meaning to your data so that you can quickly find the differences which, if addressed, will make a difference. Thank you.